Hi, welcome to our November episode of Silver Linings Talk Show. And today we have with us Jackie Baldwin, a financial advisor, but so much more. Jackie brings a comprehensive strategy to her approach to financial planning, focusing on the entire family and their goals and dreams. She serves on numerous professional boards and spreads her knowledge through speaking engagements and community outreach programs. You can find her active in her community or kayaking on the Connecticut River with her puppies.
Which we get to talk more about.
Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Welcome to the show, Jackie. We're thrilled to have you with us.
Oh my goodness. Thank both of you for inviting me. I am a huge fan of this show, so I cannot even believe that I'm sitting here on set with you.
Aww.
I watch every episode. I can't wait for it to drop. So I love your show.
Oh, thank you. We're so excited you're here at the table with us.
That means a lot.
Absolutely.
It really does. That's not why you're on the show.
No, because I don't think I had really told you that completely.
You didn't.
No,
You didn't.
no.
So thank you for sharing.
And we just wanted to kind of start with our lovely decor, and one of the things that we wanted to make sure was on the table was a coffee pot and coffee beans, because there's a fabulous story
Yes.
to start with.
Yes.
With coffee and you.
I know. I saw this and I feel like I'm home. It's wonderful. So I grew up with 5 older brothers, and so my mom was an avid coffee drinker. And so, you know, when you go to these events and you see those big silver urns that hold at least 40 cups, we had that going in our house every day.
Oh.
So every morning I would wake up to the warm aroma of, and hearing that percolator going with the warm coffee. I've been drinking coffee since I was 4 years old. So this much coffee, this much milk. Now I've reverted to this much coffee and this much milk. But coffee was something that was a connector in our house. And so whether you were having a good conversation, a difficult conversation, it didn't matter. It was always over a cup of coffee. And so coffee has been one of those things. I love it. It's the smell, it's the whole sensation, and that warm connection. And so after I had married and moved out, I would call my mom and I'd say, "Do you have time for a cup of coffee?" And so we would just have coffee over, over the phone. And if you ever popped in, she always had a pot of coffee going, or could start it right away.
And you have a beautiful photo of you with a coffee mug that we just wanted to share.
Right, and that was really important for me, because coffee is that connection, that warmth. And a lot can happen over a cup of coffee. And I've now incorporated that in with my children. So my boys have been drinking coffee since they were little. And so there'll be times where my son will call me and say, "Are you on your way home? I got a fresh pot of coffee brewing." So we'll sit down, have a cup of coffee, and catch up.
So it's so much more about, it's more than just the coffee. It's about sitting down and having connection.
Yes.
Because there's a warmth.
There's a warmth.
I love that so mudd. I love that. I'm so glad that we could make you feel at home.
I know,
with
it's beautiful.
With our table set today.
But I just want to add to that, you had just also discussed how you brought coffee into other people's lives with your family-owned airport at Goodspeed.
Yes, yes. So when I was growing up, my dad had served in World War II and was an aviator. And so he also was an instructor. So when I was growing up, we ran the Goodspeed Airport, and we had 4 airplanes and ran a flight school. And so my job as the little young lady was to go and serve coffee.
I love that.
Coffee,
The coffee connector.
always, coffee to all the students, because as they were waiting for my dad and my brother to come back with students and airplanes, the next students would be waiting. And so my job was to entertain them and to keep them fully coffeeed up and ready to go. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that.
I love that story. So I mean, you have so many wonderful stories. So to go along with, for people who don't know where Goodspeed Airport is located, is right on the Connecticut River, and it's really beautiful. So you also have such a strong connection to the Connecticut River.
Oh, yes.
I do. So in between my serving coffee and entertaining students, when there was nobody coming, I could carefully cross the runway. Because if anybody's ever been to that airport, the runway actually parallels the river. And so I'd have to carefully cross the runway, and then I would go hang out at the river. And, you know, as a young girl, I'd watch the boats, and I would make up stories about, you know, where they were going and what they were doing. And I would watch the ducks on the river, and sometimes I would take a leaf and I would drop it in and chase it down the river. And I got to watch the bridge go up and down. And the river just became this really peaceful place, but it also carried big dreams for me, because I imagined what would it be like to be on that river and let that river carry me down, and what kind of stories would I have.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So that kind of brings you to a place in adulthood now
Right.
where you're on a new adventure. Can you tell us about your adventure on the Connecticut River and what you're doing?
I would love to. I'd love to talk about this.
And should we, as we do that, let's maybe show some photos that you brought, which can really help highlight your journey.
That's
so
a
tell us what
beautiful
you're
capture.
doing.
So what I'm doing is, it started 7 years ago. I found myself in a marital change, and I was really just needing to go places where I could feel calm. And so in addition to the Connecticut River being from my childhood, much to my amazement, I moved to Middletown and lived for 3 decades in Middletown, and brought my children to the river so that they would have those same experiences. Then they rode on the river for crew. And so I thought, it's about time for me to get on the water. So I had my 85-pound yellow lab, and I wanted to go on the river, but I couldn't maneuver a hard body by myself, a tandem. So I researched, and I got myself an inflatable kayak, and we started going out on the river. And I said, well, all right, I might as well make a purpose for this, so I'll paddle the entire Connecticut River just in Connecticut. Well, when I was almost done with that, I thought, by golly, I'm going to paddle all 410 miles of it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's what we've been doing. My dogs.
So what is this first photo?
So this is a photo of where I had camped on an island in Connecticut. So in Connecticut, the islands were flat. Now that I'm in Vermont, they're not. You can't camp on just any old island. But with this was an island, and it was the morning where I woke up, got out, was having breakfast with my dogs, and getting ready to pack up and go back out on the water for the day.
Nice.
So it's very peaceful, as you can see.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
I
And
thought
this-
this picture is like
This
amazing.
is not photoshopped, by the way,
This is
in the
amazing.
least. This is just off my camera. I got up, and the water was as flat could be. As you can see, bright sun, and it was gorgeous. And I thought, this is going to be a great day.
Wow.
Oh, let's go to the next shot. Oh, there he is.
So here's my inflatable, and there is my 85-pound yellow lab Baxter. And you know, we are self-sufficient. So we have our tent, our cooking, our food, everything is all on there. I don't, when we stop, we're just off the side of the river.
Okay.
And as you can see, he has his life jacket on. Even though he can swim, you never know. He's got to have his
Right,
life jacket too.
right.
Absolutely.
This is a map of one of the segments. So I'm doing segment paddling of all 410 miles.
Okay.
And so this was a map of a portion of the river that I was doing at that time. So yeah. And there's our tent. This is another location where we had camped. And so there's our tent. That's my seat, which I can take out and enjoy. So double duty.
Yes.
And here is Baxter just chilling out. I'm making dinner, and he's chilling. I get to do all the cooking.
He's waiting patiently.
He does all, you do all the work.
I do all the
see
work,
it.
and he's my protector, though, I will say. Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Nice.
And then I do have also a white Havanese now. Oh, and here's our stove, so we're cooking dinner. Well, I'm cooking dinner. And coffee pot, see? Did you see the coffee pot?
I saw the coffee pot.
Cannot not have a coffee pot. And here's my little white Havanese Lulu. A good friend of mine passed away. Her family wasn't able to take her, so I adopted her. And she has acclimated perfectly to the boat and keeps up with the big guy.
Oh, I love that.
And so we've paddled about 210 miles of the Connecticut River, and so we have a little over 200 left. And it's all, heading up to it. The source is actually right at Canada.
Wow.
And it's sourced from the Connecticut lakes, which is where it's getting the name. So,
Awesome.
Amazing.
yeah.
That is so cool.
And here they are.
Look at them.
They're having a blast for sure.
And you can see Lulu's paws are muddy from getting out onto the bank. So they're really sweet, and I love having them with me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What an adventure.
It is an adventure. It isn't all, easy like that.
Yes. Yes.
That could probably lead into the next segment. You kind of pointed out that beautiful shot of the clear water, and I saw your mind going somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I
around the
know-
bend.
Yes, I know that rivers can be unpredictable, and talk to us a little bit about how this kind of relates to what you do for your business.
Well, first, your book.
Oh yes, the
Yes.
book.
Oh yes.
Yes.
So sorry.
How this relates to the book.
So, as I was doing this paddling, and some days it's beautiful like that. That particular day where the water was beautiful and totally flat, within an hour, I literally had paddled around that bend, and motorboats were starting to come out. The wind was picking up, and for the next 12 hours, I was battling it. And it was really actually quite dangerous. It's like riding a bicycle on the highway in rush hour traffic, being in a kayak when everybody and their brother is out on their boats having a great time and creating wakes and all of that. And so I started relating that to life, because we can be going along and everything is beautiful and the water is calm and everything is joyful, and then bam, you can turn around that corner and hit the worst challenge in your life. And I found that by going through these challenges, I had a couple of choices. One really wasn't a choice. I couldn't really give up because my car was parked miles down the river. There was no town for me to just pull off. I had to keep going. I had to dig deep and get that courage up and strength and say, I can do this. I can push through and make it. And when I get to the other side, there will be flat water again. I just need to get there. And so that's really relating it to life. So I decided I would write a book about my challenges and experiences on the river and relate it to life, and it's called The Bend in the River. And it's not quite done. It was supposed to be done in 2021, and then I too had a family crisis occur. And so life happens.
Right.
And I realized the book wasn't done yet. That's why it wasn't ready to be launched at that time.
Well, I love that so much, and can you highlight a little bit about kind of preparation for those rapids, so to speak?
Sure. So the key is to be as prepared as you can.
Sure.
As a pilot, my dad always taught us to be as prepared as you possibly can by eliminating as many of the known risks as possible. Because when you eliminate those, and then you prepare in the event that there is something that's going to happen, you are as prepared as you can be to handle that. It may come as a surprise, but you're prepared to do it.
Were you always prepared in that kayak, I guess is what I was getting at.
Oh no, there were times where I was not, and I learned from that, and I learned what did I need to bring next time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And as you're talking, it sounds perfect for what you do for work.
Yes.
About being prepared and being aware of as many known things as possible. So how does your experiences on the water influence, help as a financial advisor?
Well, it's perfect. And I wouldn't have ever guessed that until, I started really thinking about these things and looking at it from that perspective. So when I go out on the water, I make sure I have maps. I have an emergency backup plan so that if I can't make it to my car, how am I going to get off safely and get to safety? I have provisions to keep me going. And so forth. And so with that, when I'm working with a client to help them, they're trying to make sure that they're prepared for whatever goals they have in life. And who knows what that could be. They're going to come to me with anything from, I just need to get out of debt, I'm a mess, I need to get back steady, I need to get out of these choppy waters, to I have a goal of accomplishing 410 miles on the river, which is I need to be able to retire. And so what we do is we really work together in mitigating the risks so that if something should happen on your way to accomplishing that goal, we've covered that risk. You have your PFD. You have your provisions, you have that backup plan, that emergency plan. And then if you never need it, great, but at least it was there. And then we keep moving forward in accomplishing all of their goals. Right. And so that's kind of how I relate that.
It's like perfect. It's so fluid.
Like a river.
Like a river.
Oh, for sure. I love that, but I'm sure it's not always easy to get people to see how they need to put these things in place.
And what do they need to put in place?
Right.
Right. So, we are called B&L Financial Architects. And it's because I'm going to shift analogies a little bit, and that is that we help our clients design, build, and maintain a solid house, a financial house. And so oftentimes people want to get right to the fun part. They want to start picking out the faucets and the tiles and all of that. But if we don't have a solid foundation to put the house on, the house will crumble. And so we need to get them into place and having provisions if they should become sick or hurt or die. How are we going to get that plan in place? So we need to have insurances to cover those. We also need to know that if something happened to them, they need to have a power of attorney in place, because if they aren't able to transact business while they're living because they became incapacitated or whatever, they need to know that somebody that they trust is going to be able to act on their behalf. And then they also need to have a health power of attorney, because if they are in the hospital in an accident and they're not able to advocate for themselves, they need to know again that there's somebody who knows them that can act on their behalf. So those are two key things, but they're things that people don't like to talk about because we don't want to talk about not being able to advocate for ourselves and being in those situations, or have life insurance because we aren't going to be here with our loved ones. So it's really important to have all of those things in place first, because if they're not, you could have the best plan in place to get you to your goal, and if something comes up, it can be very catastrophic.
You kind of liken it to what you were talking about with Baxter's life vest.
Right.
It's like he can swim, but so how do you communicate that to your clients? I mean, I can imagine that sometimes there's a certain resistance.
There is. But what I really try to encourage my clients to do is, first of all, working with me is very different, I think, than working with some other financial advisors. When somebody comes to me at first, we really talk about hopes, dreams. What are your fears? What keeps you up at night? What would you really love to have if money weren't an option? We talk about all the emotional stuff, because money is just a means to an end. It's not the life. The money is what helps you create and meet these goals and to allow you to sleep at night in comfort. And so we really talk around those things first. And I always bring back everything we're doing in our financial plan. I bring it back to those stated goals that they said they wanted to have, and how maybe this is helping take away that fear. And so sometimes when clients come to me too, they say, or they're hesitant to come because they're like, I'm embarrassed. I want my financial, I'm a mess. I don't want to come and I want it tidied first. And I equate that to if we're If I were to have somebody come in and clean my house, I'd probably be inclined to try to tidy it up first because I might be embarrassed. But I'm actually bringing somebody in to clean my house. So why am I doing that? I say the same with a financial advisor. Don't worry about if your financial house is a mess. That's the exact right time to bring me in. I'm here to help you tidy it up.
Well, that's such a good point, because if just for that analogy, if they don't know what they're if you don't know what you're dealing with, how are you really going to help someone?
And I would love, there's a couple things that we talked about before that I think are just so important. And one you had mentioned, and it was like a, what? Oh my God, never thought about it moment for me, was when your child turns 18.
Yes.
They're off at college, something happens, they're in the hospital. The hospital doesn't have any requirement to call you.
Well, and legally, because of HIPAA, they
Right.
really can't. Your
So-
child is now a legal adult.
So what form did you say that really, I think anybody who has children, especially teenagers that are nearing 18, what form should they be filling out so that if something happened, they have the right to make decisions for their child?
Right, so they need to have this healthcare directive form, and oftentimes you can do it so that there's an electronic copy as well as your hard copied signed. And so oftentimes hospitals will say you can fax a copy into us, so that if you're having to travel, say your child is out of state and you get a call, the awful call that your child was in an accident and you need to get there. Well, while you're driving, you want to be talking to the doctor. You want to be making decisions.
Yes.
You can't if you don't have that form. So you need to be able to have that form and send that in.
Yeah. That's so
It's really
important.
important.
For me right now, I have 2 kids out of state. That these are conversations that I'm having with them now, because I feel like there's so many things, and there's always one that you're missing.
Right, right.
And think about how fear of having these difficult conversations impacts a lot of households, and then that creates the avoidance of doing it. So what do you say to someone who's in that position of, I'm fearful of even having this discussion, and because of that, I'm completely avoiding doing it?
So if you are not willing to have the conversation, if something happens, somebody else is going to make those decisions for you, and they may not have been the ones that you would have chosen. And so it's really important for us to have these conversations, as difficult as it may be, so that you are making sure that your wishes are met. That somebody else isn't making a decision on your behalf that isn't in alignment with what you would have wanted.
Yeah.
And if something should happen to you, what's going to happen to your loved ones? Or if you're a business owner, what's going to happen to those employees who are depending on you? I think I had shared with you, I just, on my way here, had discovered that my son's boss was killed in a tragic bicycle accident yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah.
And so today they're faced with, do they close down the business? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
On top of the grief. And so it's terrible.
It just
And that's-
elevates the grief,
Absolutely.
and I think that's a great point, because in your discussion with your child, even though it's a hard decision, you want to carry their wishes out and understand what they want, because they are an adult after all.
Right, and how can you help someone if your hands are tied behind your back? It's not going to work.
I also love the statement that you had said about the importance of having these difficult conversations now versus having them when you are in the throes of grief.
Yes.
Or healing.
Right.
I mean, there's a huge difference.
No, there definitely
Where you're
is.
able to think clearly, you're able to, make those rational decisions. You're able to even comprehend what's going on, because otherwise it may be just so overwhelming when you're in the throes of things.
Yes, and also options. If you have a plan in place, you have options available to you. If we're waiting until the emergency happens, your options are limited.
Well, I have to say, what I love about this is the analogy of the river just flows right along with exactly what you do.
Yes.
I love that you have your kayak with all of your options.
Yes.
And your coffee pot, because that
Oh, that coffee cup, yeah, that comes with it.
that is in the fact that you're halfway on your journey to completing the whole Connecticut River, which is amazing. And
I'm
can't-
already figuring what river am I going to tackle next.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear more. And I love that you showed those pictures. Important. How can someone connect with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
So the best way really is you can give me a call, 860-500-0051, or just reaching out to me. We'll have
Do you
a
have
cup
an
of
email?
coffee. I do, and it's
Or a website or something?
My website is www.blfinarc for B and L financialarchitects.com.
Awesome.
And you'll find a lot of tools and resources on the website as well.
And you were saying you'll have the...
And we'll sit down and have
And
a cup of coffee.
Have some coffee talk, right?
And if you
coffee
don't, I have
chat.
tea too, yes.
I love that.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and I think sharing such important information for everybody.
Thank you.
And just amazing how everything is so aligned with what you do and then how you bring it into your work with clients. Thank you for being here and just
Thank you for allowing me to
sharing.
share. Appreciate it
Yes.
very much.
No, you're such a valued member of our community, and we're so thrilled that we could share you with the community
I'm grateful. Thank
of
you.
Silver Linings.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So we will see you all next time.
Have a cup of coffee.